Good evening, everyone, and I'm thrilled to be here. Again, my name is Ann Mundell, and I teach scenic design in the School of Drama. So I'm really interested to hear what our panelists have to say tonight because a lot of it has to do with the field in which I work and spending a little bit of time with them. Their work is truly cutting edge, and they are generous and intelligent collaborators, creators, entrepreneurs, and innovators. So it's going to be an interesting panel. Just to start us off, the first question is, and anyone can lead with an answer if you like, the current generation of teens and 20-somethings produce and curate their own content in a way that past generations haven't been able to due to access to newer technology and delivery methods. How do you think this kind of disintermediation will continue to drive your work?
So I can start. Hi, everyone. This is Wang. I'm from Surreal. So just a quick intro. We are focusing on using AI to generate content. So that for this question, I think it only gives us more confidence in terms of like how we will be delivering our work, because that this intermediation is for sure the trend of the future, for the future of content creation and the delivery and consumption. The path between creator and consumer is going to be way more shortened by more advanced technology. We are very thrilled about this kind of future. And our part is more about like the beginning, helping people to visualize their creativity into content as more efficiently as possible. So this kind of trend would definitely give us more confidence and boost the future potential market, or as well as like the audience size for our technology. To be a little bit more specific, we're trying to make a pretty universal content creation tool that help people to visualize their content, visualize their creativity directly. In the ideal form, they'll be able to input their creativity either by text or audio, and will be able to understand what they would want to be making. And they would be able to choose their own AI character and visualize that almost directly without any need of camera or any sort of that. So we are very thrilled about this future. And we believe that with this kind of more and more disintermediation, and also paired with such kind of generation technology, the network of content creation and consumption would be way more lively than even today. And the inspiration coming across and from each other would be a lot more richer, and therefore a lot more better content. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's terrific. And maybe we could hear from our other two panelists. Thank you. Thank you for that, Juan.
Hey, Anne. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Sim. I'm the co-founder of Onyx Labs, where we turn mobile apps, turn Twitch channels into mobile app user acquisition channels. I think this intermediation you mentioned has given individuals and the content creators kind of tremendous amount of power. Only people who know how to build a community online will be able to harness this power. So whether you're running a YouTube channel or making a podcast, or maybe building followers on TikTok, or maybe you're owner of a Discord server, or kind of like running a newsletter, or maybe running a Twitter account that tweets nothing about dank memes. No matter which platform you build your audience on, if you are dedicated to it, you could gain the influence power equivalent to a traditional TV station or newspaper, or maybe even more. So I was watching this interview yesterday, Emily Chang from Bloomberg TV, and she was giving an interview to a TikTok star, Katie Feeney, I think is her name, an 18-year-old TikTok and Snapchat creator who made $1 million on Snapchat in 6 weeks and racked up 5.4 million followers on TikTok with sponsorships from Amazon and Disney. And those are big numbers. And the title of the interview, I think it was how TikTok is a new career for millennials and Gen Z. And, in it, she kind of talks about how they, manage brand relationships, how to kind of diversify across different platforms, how to manage business communications. It is truly ran as a sophisticated business. It's truly a career. Many people don't realize how big of an impact an online creator can make. And, sometimes you just think, oh, this is just a kid who plays video games in his or her bedroom. But what you don't realize is that in the same time, there are maybe 50,000 people or 500,000 people watching him or her playing that video game in real time. So I think all of these contents will define what fashion is in the future. It would help to form people's worldviews, and it would, become trendy. The democratization of internet and the disintermediation will basically continue, and I think there is just no turning back.
It's a pretty exciting future, especially the way that you describe it. Thank you. Tony, do you wanna weigh in on this?
Oh yeah, thank you guys. I think if you every generation have its new media type, right? I remember in the days when blogger is the thing, and then became Facebook, then became Twitter, right? So I think really nothing has changed except the medium, and MIDIUM has changed, and it's always the young people who actually jump on, right? I actually know I know Liang pretty well, know the founder of Musical.ly, and then later became TikTok. So I think short video right now is the one, right? What are the difference of this medium? I think we should probably go back to the consumer behavior and what kind of tools, right? Consumer behavior as Gen Z getting less and less patient, right? We want instant gratification, and so that's one. The other one is the mobile phone. This device has, well, interesting how you can't even see this. It's a invisible mobile phone. This became one of the most efficient creator device with all the cameras in the front and in the back, right? Agora was founded on that thesis because we noticed there's more and more camera in the phone. It got to be, you got to put this into some use, right? So we predict about 7 years ago that video is going to be predominant new medium, right? And here we are, right? But that alone is not enough. You need the new medium have to provide you a better way of monetize than Facebook, because otherwise you would just upload your video to Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, right? And I think this interactive, the audience transaction leading by some of the new company, we're seeing during the COVID period is actually a very good testimony. Very popular already in East, but start to getting into the West, right? When the audience direct transaction would actually making more money than traditional ad network or the traditional network like Facebook, Twitter would able to basically provide you, right? So we see more and more individual creators on those platforms. I think that trend is a one-way street. Without COVID. COVID is an accelerator. So that's my overall thinking.
Thank you all for those incredible insights. And you have, you've really codified what I've seen in trends with my students over the years. When I first started teaching, for example, they were linear thinkers, linear storytellers, linear learners. And now what I'm discovering is that my students are created as aggregate creators. That there's nothing linear, their narratives aren't linear, their narratives are collected. And the disintermediation and the democratization of the internet has really, rewired their brains in a very interesting way. And I'm hearing what you have to say today makes me very excited about what the future of all of that is. So thank you very much for those answers. And for our audience members, just a quick note that after about an hour at about 9:30, we're going to go to a Q&A. So please note your questions for our panelists, because we're going to try and take as many of them as we can at 9:30. So moving on to our second question, which actually Tony gave us a great segue into. What's the pandemic taught you about the creation and delivery of content? What opportunities will arise from the pandemic disruption and acceleration of the proliferation of the online experiences? And maybe we can kind of go backwards around the circle this time. Tony, do you want to start?
Sure. I think the first thing I learned is work from home is terrible. That's what I learned first. It should really be work from anywhere, right? That's what you decide, work from anywhere. Because you have the computer, you have network, doesn't matter where you are, and you have a mobile phone. In most time, mobile phone, you can, and I think the current Gen Z is very comfortable of doing everything on the mobile phone, right? So really you should be able to, the future should be work from anywhere. So that's one. The other thing, I've been talking with Blizzard, I've been talking with some of the production company, ESPN, right? The production has become remote, right? So basically in a high level, the COVID has changed fundamentally one way, changed, transformed, and this process will take a very long way, right? It'll probably take another 10 years. How the content is being created, is being distributed, no longer through the wave, but let's say Clubhouse, just new form of radio station, interactive through internet, no longer through the wave, right? Distributed, consumed, and monetized. That whole ring, the whole full segment will be fundamentally transformed. And I think we are very lucky because we're at the beginning of it, right? There's nothing you can change about COVID, so might as well grab the tailwind on what impact it brings and be part of that transformation of human behavior.
Thank you. That was very well put. I appreciate that. Sim?
Yeah, I actually totally hear what Tony says about teams being remote, and the Blizzard kind of experience. I myself has been a game developer for many years, and I know exactly how hard it is, when you have a team of, disciplinary kind of talents all need to work on like a game, for instance, together, and to transition that into a remote kind of pipeline, it's going to be really, really challenging. So surprisingly, from a personal experience standpoint, our company, at least work-wise, didn't experience that much of a change because we were fully remote to begin with, even pre-pandemic. So, rolling into the pandemic, we actually didn't experience too much disruption, at least work-wise. I think we can all agree our personal lives are greatly disrupted. I think for the creative minds online, they are not people who go to a 9-to-5 job, in an office. So in many ways, they are in a similar situation where their creative work has been mostly not affected. If you're a YouTuber, right, for instance, you run a channel about book reading or finance, there's nothing to stop you from keep reading more and studying the market and producing high quality content. And the same goes for if you're hosting a podcast or maybe you're running a webinar like this one, right? So I think because of the pandemic, people are spending record amount of time, doing, browsing the internet. I think the number is, I think Wall Street Journal last year, a whopping 16 hours a day are now being spent with digital media by average US adults, 16 hours a day. So you have more people with more time to consume contents, while the production of the contents are largely unaffected. So this is probably the best time to start your own media and kind of build a community online in history. I think on the flip side, there are definitely some negative impacts too, such as because the supply chains are really, really disrupted across many industries. If you are selling merchandise online, it's going to be really hard to have those merchandise manufactured from factories or shipped out to your end consumers. So, and also like sponsors might not have as big of a budget for brand deals because their own business is impacted by the pandemic. So those merchandise sales and sponsor deals represent a huge portion of the creator's revenue. So there are definitely negative impacts too. We at Onyx Labs, we help creators to monetize through mobile app sponsorships. So we are definitely really proud of being able to support our creators during these crazy times and help them to make money when they needed it the most.
Terrific, thank you. And what's the surreal experience been? What's your discovery been?
So for the first part of the question, first of all, I think my points are basically in the same direction as the previous two guests, and I would like to share from another angle, which is psychology. First of all, I think content is basically the medium of communicating among people nowadays, especially online, right? Either through text or audio or video. I was working from home in Bay Area for the whole year, 2020 until the end of the year, and I came back to China. I definitely know how it feels like and what has been changed by that in terms of our lives. And the most important thing the pandemic has taught me is that content creation and delivery is only more important in those special times because people are isolated at homes and they don't really get to go out to hang out with their friends in physical world as they used to do. But human as a social species, we have this basic need of feeling bonded with our same kind and feeling in the same group, belong to the same group. So that's why we saw like a hype in terms of online and softwares and services. People are basically wanting to create and deliver more content because they still need to feel united and connect in the same way while they cannot do so in physical world. So that's the thing the pandemic has taught me the most. So with that learning, what kind of opportunities will arise? Well, it's especially about if that's true, then the important question becomes how could we help people to be able to create and deliver content more easily, more diversity and more frequently if they want, right? That's why we are very thrilled about this future we are looking at, which is that basically everyone could be a creator. The trend, another trend about content is that the more and more, so just like Sim mentioned, people are gonna need more and more content, higher and higher standard, more and more instant gratification. More people spend more time online, and more and more higher content will be needed. But there isn't that many really say professional content creators. Even those people who are on TikTok, those one who get popular or famous, they kind of have to figure out a unique way of expressing themselves, either a special way of using the camera movement, or some kind of self-editing part into their short form videos. So there is pretty likely going to be a gap between the ability of, say, the total human race content creation versus the need for high quality in terms of its amount, its diversity, its, say, time or frequency. And what we want to do is that we want to enable almost everyone to become their own creator. They basically only need to decide what they want to be talking about, what they want to express. And AI can do almost all of the rest. So internally, as my co-founder has mentioned in other places, that we have a pretty simple formula internally, which is content creation equals creativity plus making. Creativity comes from each individual himself, herself, mixed with, say, cultural background, different experiences, or different inspirations from some time. But the making part is somewhat universal. It's just about tools, right? Like either you are taking photos or editing videos. Nowadays, most content are captured by camera and processed with some steps. What we want to be focusing on is to make the making part as low cost as possible, almost zero. So in that world, creativity would almost equal to content creation directly, and everyone would be freed up to just focus on what they want to. And I think that's going to be a very exciting future, and all the current trends we've talked about are pretty much pointing to that future.
Thank you for that. And thank you all for that. And that actually echoes very much. I come from an art form that the social contract is basically live and in person and in real time. So we had an extreme challenge this year in kind of reinventing how we delivered content and how we explored content and how we created. And all of what you all have talked about, this sort of cultural shift, suddenly it became acceptable to shift our social contract a little bit so that we gave ourselves permission to still be creators within that. And to, what you said about the gap in between, doing it well and doing it is actually kind of fascinating because that seems to be something that has driven content creation this year. People are just willing to put it out there, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Because people want to express themselves in the end, more or less, right? Because otherwise, like you don't really want to belong to anyone, or you don't want to be listened or heard by anyone. But that's actually not our nature. By default, everyone wants to express themselves sometimes somewhat. And with this pandemic, like the most sense-making channel is through online, and through online you just need to make content to represent yourself, to express your points. So I think that the trend is definitely there, and it's actually exciting for us.
I can imagine, and it's also exciting the way that people are able to take different technologies and put them together in really unusual ways and unexpected ways, and so the content almost becomes delivery in a lot of ways. The delivery is part of the story, which has been fascinating to me. And hearing the way that you describe it is also very much part of that. So thank you for your answers. So this question is a little bit broader than the next question. What's the future of creation and delivery of live and mixed modality entertainment, video and music production and gaming, do you think? I mean, that's like wide open. Does anybody want to take a first stab at that? You have 3 hours, go.
Sure, I can take a little bit longer. I think like I said in the beginning, right, the COVID has changed the way it's been produced, it's being consumed, right? So I think you will find out that actually the audience and the creator really don't need too much, what I call a better word, middleman, right? What we need is a better platform and transparent distribution scheme, right? And without all the tapping on your privacy, cross-site cookie tracking and everything, right? And selling your data to endless data monetization partners, right? So I think you will see more and more audience transaction, and with Patron model and better quality, and also as our appreciation of content became more diversified, right? There's always a niche that you will find a global audience, right? The physical world, unfortunately, has become very geopolitic, but the online world, I believe, is going to be convergent. The global interest group, for lack of a better word, let's call it the Facebook group, right? Will be unbundled away from the Facebook because it provides only the basic function. It will be refusioned into its own virtual community on its own vertical, powered by the new latest medium type, the short video, the interactive video Agora has, the live cast that likes of Facebook, live Clubhouse is using, right? All kind of things will get together and monetize from audience transaction and also direct to consumer e-commerce, because you don't have to retargeting them. They are in your community. They tell you what they want. You just need to taking the collector needs and do think about a mini Kickstart campaign and find a merchandise design. For example, four of us is using one of those. Let me show you a product over here. It's a Snapchat-like product, but with a video glass over here, right? You can live streaming, right? Let's say we are doing a cooking class. I mean, what's better, this one, or you hold this and hold the phone and doing a cooking, right? So makes sense, right? So you go and it's actually in Kickstarter. That's why I get them from. So think about that, and think about the margin you get directly from the manufacturer, right? And you then feed back those margin to the audience. They get something cheaper, the creator gets something. I think that is a much healthier environment when the content creator getting the credit that is due, and the media platform is not going to monopolize the opinion, right? By choose for you on your behalf what they want you to see and what they want to believe, and in the meantime taking your privacy and reselling it, right? So I believe that we're gonna go into a much healthy and diversified trend.
Fascinating, and thank you for the demonstration. I can't wait to get a pair of those when they're available. That's fabulous. Sim, what do you think about this?
So I think there are two points I want to make on this, right? So the first is basically going back to how big this online content creation opportunities are. I think this is what's going to define the future of work. So back when Uber and Lyft, they empowered. What they did is they empowered individuals to drive and work on their own schedule, right? You can make a living, not tied to a set schedule, but to be your own boss, work on your own schedule, and it's really liberating that way. Now, that is what we refer to like gig workers or like gig economy, but still. At large, it doesn't scale that well, right? Like you only have 8 hours a day to drive a Uber. There's no way you can, 10x, 100x, or 1,000x of your revenue, right? But now, being a creator online, curating an online community, you can really scale. There's an article called 1,000 True Fans, which is often cited by Li Jing, who is a startup investor and venture capitalist. She's the one also who minted the phrase creator economy. The idea behind it is that you can build a fan base. If you can build a fan base of 1,000 people and each contributes $100 per year that's subscribed to your content, you can make a good living earning $100K a year. Or if you push even further, you can I'll charge each person $1,000 per year. And I only need to serve 100 customers really well. So, I've seen, some recent examples that are really interesting. Like for instance, you will see these kind of micro opinion leaders on stock investing or maybe cryptocurrency investing, right? They would create a WeChat group or some kind of, group chat. Then they would charge a fee for people to enter those groups. And as a service, they would basically provide their study and analysis on what stocks to buy or sell. Like they can say, this is the top 10 reasons I think GameStop is absolutely the right stock to buy. And, people will follow them. People will follow them and listen to them in WeChat or on Reddit. So I think that is a primitive version of how building a fan-based economy and generate revenue is like. And of course, there are like platforms like Substack and, where you can write a newsletter and charge a subscription fee, or you can, sell products on Gumroad. Like all those are great examples. Or, if you're a digital artist, you can make your digital art, you can sign them into NFTs. That's non-fungible tokens. It's a type of cryptocurrency, and you can put it on sale in a marketplace for auction. I think just last month, there's a digital artist called Beeple sold a NFT for $69 million, just a digital art. The possibilities are really endless. I think this is only the beginning. And the second point I kind of want to make is basically, I think now you start to see every business becomes a content creator. Like no matter what you do, no matter what you sell, you basically need to become a content creator. It's such a integral part of every business. It's before you have to have a website, then you have to have a kind of a social media presence, and now you really need to produce content, and it's a part of your user acquisition strategy. For example, you will see the new and sexy tech startups in San Francisco. They would release regular articles on Medium to update their progress, and their customers would see it and kind of, oh, this is a really cool company. I want to work with them, and that's part of content creation. Venture capitalists are running podcasts, and they do it to demonstrate they are the most value-adding partners, and they do that to attract future founders and to get deal flows. So basically, these are all examples of using content creation as a kind of, instead of going for the traditional kind of business development approach, you can be like a small construction company running a YouTube channel, and you can document the whole building process of a house, and people will tune in to watch those videos, and when they want to build a house, it will be, wow, I remember those builders, they're great people, and they would get in touch to give money for those people to build their own house. So I think people need to think about content creation as a form of developing new business opportunities.
Thank you for that. It's opening up infinite possibilities, and it's really exciting to hear about it. Huang, what about you? What do you think?
So I assume in the question by live, you mean live broadcasting. Is that so?
Live or live, creation and content that actually happens live. So live broadcasting or live performance art. It could be anything.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So there's basically two parts: live and a mixed modality, right? So in terms of live broadcasting, I came back from US end of last year, and the one thing I noticed is that live is very popular in China. I think part of that is also due to the pandemic last year, that people are staying home more and spending more time online, and finding live being somewhat interesting than pre-made content in different ways. I think those two are going to coexist, but live provides, I guess, a special sense of feeling authentic because it's almost real time and there's almost no pre-edit of any kind that you are seeing. Many merchandises and networks platforms are now utilizing live a lot to say, be delivering content or trying to advertising for something. So live is actually one of the most straightforward format of creation and delivery, because it's almost directly to your audience, just right there. Just like how back then there's like a TV salesman who just almost was talking to you. Now it's like more real time, more authentic. So I think live is like that now, and the next step of live broadcasting is more about like how the interactions, how all kind of different kinds of functions are in there when you are either creating or browsing live. But in terms of content itself, it's kind of there. But on the other side, for mixed modality, I think that's kind of an interesting trend as well. I think people are definitely wanting more and more not complex but richer levels of content entertainment. It's just posting a challenge to content creators, right? Because not every content creator knows how to write music as well as say editing video or even shot some really beautiful scene. But if any content like that, audience would enjoy that, right? So again, we are seeing the gap I mentioned from potentially another angle, and I think a better answer to this is that we don't want everyone to be so good at multiple tools to be able to create mixed modality content for their friends or their audiences. But what we want to, and what would be more efficient, is that to help people co-create with each other. Maybe some people are gifted in some way, say writing some melody. Other people are gifted in taking shots of I don't know, animals or scenes. Some other people are good at writing sentences. Like they don't need to be good at the other stuff because that really doesn't make sense. It's gonna push them actually further away from what they are originally gifted by. But what we could do is to help them meet each other, kind of converge with each other in some communicable content creation way, right? And we've been trying to figure that out in terms of what if a platform for people to come together with different background, different skill set, different type of content creation, but somehow can merge their work together and therefore co-create way better, way richer content for actually also including themselves now because they are as well as the audience in terms of the creation process. It's going to be very interesting. I believe it's going. I personally call it AI resonance. It's like everyone's going to be able to create lots of content and inspire other people to create even more content, and everyone's going to have lots of great content to enjoy. They are both the creator, the co-creator, and the consumer at the same time. It's going to be a very exciting and lively content network. I believe lots of great work will come out from that. People is like one good example, but he's by himself, right? Imagine, I don't know, 5 different peoples working together. How much would that be? I don't know. It's just, I don't know how much kind of money side because that's kind of irrational. But in terms of content itself as like kind of human creation, almost like cultural, say, work, I think it's going to be very interesting. It's like almost like the renaissance for digital age.
Wow, that is really inspiring. And I think that as an artist, one of the things that I'm aware of is that the more disparate backgrounds and skill sets you can put in a room together in a collaboration, the more interesting the results are. And so what you're talking about is also kind of an explosion of just about every art form or the possibility of that, because
Right.
collaborations become so much more possible.
Because I don't know how many people know about like the latest state on generation kind of AI. I can share a little bit light on that. So a recent pretty hot AI model is called GAN. It's talking about how an AI could kind of almost fight itself to get really good at something, creating something. And this kind of AI is very smart. It can create visual content, either images or videos. It could create, say, musical content, as long as you feed it like musical stuff. It could also write articles. So it knows how to learn to create certain kind of content and from ground up as soon as you train him to. So that, and many people are doing this kind of stuff, and from lots of researchers, lots of universities, and as well as some companies. So I kind of believe that once there are a few, say, relatively more matured and successful AI that come out from different track, there's gonna be a way to connect them together, to put them into like a universal platform. And with those AI content creation of different content types, people are gonna be very it's going to be very easy for anyone to deliver their content through their creativity, because it could be music, or it could be audio, text, or video, basically 3 dimensions, right? Or say AR, VR. That's kind of under a bigger video context, and they would be just inspiring each other, and somehow they could be merging their work. Say I could be able to describe a very interesting storyline, and my AI could help me to visualize that storyline. And another artist or another just co-creator is good at, say, I don't know, describe a melody, and he's going to be putting his melody into my storyline. And what if these two can affect each other? So it's not either my work plus his work, it's like my work multiplies his work, because like his music would somehow change my storyline to make it more interesting. And my storyline would also affect his music. Or even each of us provide one piece of work, they could be multiplying and produce a lot of different kind of versions of our co-creation. So the amount and the diversity of content is going to be beyond imagination and very exciting.
It's thrilling, thrilling. The next question is sort of more to the heart of you as entrepreneurs, innovators, and artist citizens, entrepreneur citizens. How do you balance the goals and values that drive your work with the economic choices that you have to make on a daily basis? That's a really hard one. Sim, you want to start on that one?
Sure. We actually see the two goals are really the same, and there isn't really kind of a split between the values in our field of work, because as a matter of fact, our company exists because we wanted to help the creators to make more money and help the sponsors to get a better return on investment. So if the creators are successful in running the sponsorships and having fun playing the mobile games that's sponsoring them, their community will be more likely to engage with the app and to kind of share the joy with their favorite star. And that will kind of lead to, better engagement and, better return on investment for the sponsor. So I think creators themselves are going to ultimately be the gatekeeper, and they are the person who's going to be balancing and choosing the right amount of is this particular brand that represents my channel well, or is this a good fit for my audience? And almost all the sponsors who play the long game would know that it's not worth it to kind of sell out their community or push anything into their fans that they don't like. It doesn't worth it. And so I think in that regards, ultimately, it's the creator's own channel, it's their audience, and they will play the long game, and they will make the right choice.
Fantastic, thank you. Tony? You're muted. There you go.
Yep, I was on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're good.
Can you guys hear me now? Okay,
yeah.
Good. Yeah. So, we don't have. I'm actually this is something I have less opinion. Hold on. Well, maybe give me a minute. Let me come back to this one.
Okay, this is definitely the hard question in the batch. Let's go to Wang, and then we can circle back to you if you have any thoughts or not. We can move on.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Wang.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So we're talking about how to balance our goals and values with economic choices on daily basis, right? So from my experience, I think I kind of tend to believe that the audiences here who are listening to us, I tend to believe that you guys are on a better ground already, because CMU is a really good and prestigious school. You are able to come here to get really high-end education. I think that kind of potentially shows that you are already better off than, say, the average. But I think first of all, you need to be able to feed yourself and your family for sure, right? If you cannot even achieve that, it's really hard and difficult, and also not just rational to talk about what kind of higher goals or values you want to deliver or achieve. But I think I believe that the basics tends to be very easy for people to achieve. So most people are more caring about like the what next, because CMU is really like all of my CMU. I also graduated from CMU MHZ program in 2013. I heard no problem from any of my friends from CMU of finding a job or anything. Like the only thing they are talking about is like the job is not good enough or the pay is not higher than the other one. So I think as soon as like you are able to find a job that can fit yourself and fit your, say, career trajectory, the more important question is like what you really want to do, who you want to become. I think I spent many years actually figuring that out after graduation. I went to an SAP in Bay Area first as an intern. I actually had a technical background from high school and undergrad. I was majoring in CS, but I found myself interested in design. And so I went to CMU M2CI, and it's a really prestigious design program. And I went to Bay Area as an intern. But very soon I realized that I'm not really interested in like big company pays almost somehow retirement life to me. Then I feel like I need to be in an environment that's a lot faster paced. I need to be meeting challenges every day. I want to grow faster and faster. And I was looking for startups, and then I joined CMU, which is a musical startup in San Francisco. I spent almost 5 years in there, which is kind of what I heard is like kind of rare given our generation of a first full-time job. And I think it's a period of me really figuring out what I want to do and what I really want to achieve. Because I thought I was interested in design, right? I was in computer science, and I thought I was interested in design. So I went to study design, and I went to say design intern and go to SMU. I joined as like the most junior, no experience, zero experience product designer, because I didn't even do any design before that. And almost 3 years later, I was the director of design at SMU, kind of managing team and delivering some kind of big high level product and design projects. And I didn't need to worry about, say, salary or finding a place that's comfortable or anything like that. But I was still kind of confused. Like, I didn't know if that's the path I was going to continue, because I'm getting closer and closer to, say, the selling on that path. And I also started to double check if I really wanted to become a designer, because I really missed coding a lot. Like I really miss like coding at work or writing some program. I never had a chance to do that because I changed my career to design, which is kind of a conflict made by myself. And so I basically confused myself for a long time. And talking with friends and my co-founder for many times, like late night chats, we realized that I realized that like I didn't know what I really eventually want to do, or I didn't know what kind of person I eventually want to become. And I realized later that that's actually the hardest question and also the most important question. Once you figure that out, that's going to be like the North Star of your life, and you can set everything in that direction. Because like, for example, I realized that later on, it's not that I didn't want to do coding or design. I love both. What I really want to do is to create product. It's like a higher level concept or pursue. I want to be making modern products or potentially tools that can help people in some way to make as big impact as possible, right? And the only question is kind of what industry, what tool, what product do I go into? I start to figure that out, and I start looking around, and we've been talking about, say, of course, cryptocurrency or social network, because both me and my partner come from social network background, and we're looking to AI, and we look at all different kinds of futures, and we realize that, wait, this kind of AI generation is really cool. It's really exciting. It might be the next big thing. It might totally revolutionize lots of stuff. And if we are able to make a product, a tool for that, our product is going to be very, very important and very, very impactful. And that, I think, that thread of thought led my way from, say, coding to designing and to eventually resigning and come back to China from US, which I really missed a lot. It's many part of that. But I think because I kind of figure I can't say for sure though, because I think people change, right? This stuff kind of change as well. But at a given time, you have to try to make your best judgment. Say you are graduating, there's not enough experience or data for you to figure out what's your goal and value. But you can try to attempt to decide and go for that and see if it's true. Because if it's true, you are very lucky you find your goals and value the first bet. If not, it's okay, because you tried. You kind of prove or disapprove something, and you can move on. It's way better than not knowing and not deciding. So It's not really about balancing because I kind of believe that we don't really, most of us don't tend to have this balancing problem. So the next step, I was talking about that, which I think might be helpful for people.
Just real quick, I wanted to kind of, add on top of, what Wang has said. I think apparently everyone takes a different path, right? And I think what's interesting is, when I was in school, the great outcome is after graduation, you find a good job and, earn a salary. But that may no longer be the case. I think now we're living in an age where potentially, when you're in school, you can start to project a career, like a self-directed career, even before graduation. With a small team of people, you can, and smartphones in your pocket, you can be your own director, you can be your own script writer, you can be your own movie star. And I think it's going to be the specific knowledge that you learned from school that distinguishes your content from others. Before jumping on this webinar, I literally watched a YouTube video taught by a professional photographer, walking through how to look better on Zoom, because I want to look better on Zoom. And in it, the photographer will go through how does the camera work, how does the lighting work, how does the background work, and all that specific knowledge you learned from school and in your professional career will be the key distinguisher to help you to create more content.
Fantastic. Tony, circling back to you, do you have anything you want to add?
Sure, of course, yeah. I think I was actually very shocked during the COVID time. I think if you are in some of the coast area, I think probably won't notice that much. We actually in the tech industry, in the media industry, in the coast, New York and California, we are the beneficial. But I believe the post-COVID world, it's almost like a K-shaped. Majority of people will be, for lack of a better word, worse than before because of inflation. If you guys all noticed, the jobs, I think there's a huge amount of job is going to be relocated because of remote work, right? So that's one thing. And I mean, really, I think the big question here is, I mean, what can we do here? I think before I answer that question, I think if, I was talking with before the company went IPO, we're talking with one of the investment banker. He wants us to view the whole life as almost like a credit. What do you do? What you do to others, that is where you deposit credit, right? And when you cash out, ICO, SPAC, going IPO way before you actually reach the value, get billions valuation before you even turn into helping even a single people, right? I think this is where you take. I'm not saying you cannot, right? So it's really a balance between how much you input to help others and how much you take from that credit machine, right? So I think now it might be because of my age, I think it might be a little bit different than you out of college. But I believe out of college, this is where exactly you should deploy this. I mean, like the other two speakers said, if you graduate from CMU, there is no shortage of job waiting for you, right? And assuming you are 22 to 26 years in that range, you have, let's say each startup is 5 years, you have at least 4 or 6 startups waiting for you. So maybe your first one should be aiming at the long run, aiming at how you deposit the most into your credit, line of credit in your life, right? Before you start, I'm gonna cash out to the most popular company in the Silicon Valley that is just pre-IPO, right? I have so many stories, people jumping into just pre-IPO company, right? So, and I can tell, because I've been seeing those so many stories. Pre-IPO doesn't mean they go IPO, right? COVID happens. A lot of company pre-IPO was pretty good, different, right? So that's one. Number two, eventually after you made that 1 or 2 million, but you spend 7 or 8 years, you became a corporate machine. You want to do something, but it's very hard because you get used to the free lunch, all the pampering, the easy money, the salary. There is no limitation better than a salary, a high salary. That's the biggest limitation. If you are below 735, I think that's a worst thing, to jump to a high salary. What you should have think of is, hey, where do I deposit more coin into my piggy bank, right? Little piggy bank, right? And the credit is measured not by how much you're making, but how much you're helping others and impact you're making. And I'm not saying like, you put your student loan aside and go to a nonprofit. There's a lot of things you can do that is actually contribute, right? And you are happy and you do something that make other people enjoy. I mean, give example, EdTech, right? I think EdTech in the US, the first wave is basically all about pre-recorded content, right? The next wave of EdTech, I believe, however, is going to be leverage the global power. I actually talked to a company who grown 20x during the COVID. They're using global teacher teaching US senior people, right? And what to do, like, yoga, painting, and Medicare is paying the bill. That's one of those things I would be very excited. I think it's actually a very smart way of treating, solving a real-time problem, right, more efficiently, and you grow 20x. So your return is actually is a reflection of how much you deposit into your piggy bank, how much innovation, how much passion, and how much you help other people. So I think that's really, I think, how the best to balance it, right? Versus, hey, I want to get to the best company making most money in the shortest amount of time, or maybe I'll get luck on leverage my portfolio to the extreme, borrow money from the bank and bet on Bitcoin and go up and down, right? Actually thinking this is not what 20, 30 years for. I mean, investment is your last job in your career, not the first job in your career. Yeah, so that's my point.
That's inspirational. This has been maybe the most inspirational answer this evening, and probably for my entire month. Y'all have given certainly me a lot to think about. That was really incredibly generous for you to offer those very deep and meaningful thoughts about the way that you live your lives and do your work and interact with the world. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. And I can offer one more piece of my own experience, right? We all heard about story like money don't change happiness. I tell you, for previous 43 years of my life, I don't believe it. That's bullshit. I'm going to be very happy when I have a lot of money, right? Guess what? We went to IPO and COVID come. So you are exactly where you are. That does not bring you anything different because you are stuck at home. Other than making some purchase online, there's nothing more you can buy. I mean, clothing, you don't even need clothes. Like I wear this for probably whole year, right? I mean, that's really about it. I mean, I only put this on today because I'm going to show it on Zoom. Otherwise, I will be like a t-shirt, right? So really, that's really, I mean, COVID really make you thinking like, what is most important? I was like, okay, my immunity is very important because I just read the news in Canada, even people get the shots also get infected, right? The new double mutation from India, very strong, right? So yes, so your immune, but your happiness is very important. And I mean, how do you do? I mean, your self-happiness has only so far to go. What if we think about this? What if we are forever locked at home? Then what you're gonna do, right? I mean, fancy restaurant, any of those important? Maybe not, right? How to grow your own tomato became very important. That don't die on you, right? That is not easy. It's always die on me, right? How to exercise, right? How to make fun at home. I mean, things like how to cooking the proper food yourself became very important, right? So I guess that's actually it's actually something I personally experienced, and hopefully it will be very helpful. So I know smart people tend to jump into hedge fund. I mean, when I was graduated, like among my friends, the priority is quant, right? Because quant is get paid $500,000 a year. Back in, I think that's 2012. That's $500,000 is a lot of money. And you go down the equation, invest banker and top company pre-IPO, large company, Google at that time, Amazon at that time, right? And then you go down to unknown company, like smaller, like LinkedIn. That's at that time, right? PayPal was okay, great. Netflix was still young at that time. And then you go to the very risky startups, right? So that's and I saw how the thing is changing, and I can tell you, if the comfortable path is the most dangerous path. Never take the comfortable path. Yeah, that's my input.
Thank you for that. As my students would say, preach. So thank you for that. That was incredibly valuable. Yeah. So we should probably move on to our Q&A section here. So for audience members, did we have a few questions already in the Q&A? So if you have a question, please just go ahead and type it in, and we'll get to as many as we can. So I'm going to start with the first one from May C. In what ways do you think cross-cultural creation has eliminated cultural barriers? And just jump in if you have thoughts on that.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Sure. In what ways do you think cross-cultural creation has eliminated cultural barriers?
I might actually see something. I think I think actually AI is play a big role. 4 years ago, I have a prediction, right? Politics and religion is the boundary of the social network, right? Which also included the content creation company. That's why you do not see a radio station that across different cultures. Very hard. Maybe there's one. I would say maybe Spotify. Spotify, because but even Spotify, you only listen to the music you like, right? But it's getting less because AI was able to targeting. The success of TikTok basically shows us that how powerful the personalization engine is, and that's actually helping the content to cross the the culture boundary and also the political boundary.
Thank you. Simmer Wang, do you have thoughts on that?
I think on a high level, right? If we're comparing, for instance, if we're comparing the platforms in the U.S. and the platforms in China, right? Like two different, two countries with a big cultural difference. I think on a high level, when it comes to the format of the content, they're actually very similar. Both places would have their own kind of platform for long videos, short videos, and that kind of thing. I think there are some small differences. For instance, it's not a barrier per se, but I would personally like to see, for instance, the content platforms in China would have more developer programs, or maybe open up more APIs. And I would see the content platforms in the US to become more sophisticated when it comes to gamification, or maybe deeper integrations with e-commerce. It's little different kind of product differences. I think there are room for improvement there, but I don't really see a barrier or kind of a big difference from the top view.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with the statement that in terms of content creation, there really isn't too big of a cultural barrier. There could be, say, technical barrier or geography barrier, but when it comes to content creation, it's more about cultural common similarities. Say, I think the vision we are having, I think we want to achieve, actually pretty much does not worry about so-called cultural barriers, because people are living in the same online world, and it's actually especially valuable for people to have different backgrounds and different inspirations and ideas, so that they can inspire each other. They can co-create more interesting stuff. So maybe that shouldn't be called cultural barrier in this context of content creation. It should be basically at most cultural difference, and that's a good thing. So we actually don't tend to eliminate anything like that at all. We actually want to celebrate that. We want to welcome all different kinds of background and thinking and anything to come together to contribute into this bigger creation pool. I think that's what's making this future very exciting. If instead, on the other hand, if everyone comes from, say, maybe the same place where there's no so-called cultural barriers, they will essentially be making the same thing almost all similar stuff. And that's actually the other side of what we would want to be doing. So I was confused about the question a little bit at the beginning, and I realized that maybe we have different, understanding of like cultural differences. Again, that's a good thing, I think.
Thank you all for that. Anonymous asks, what do you think content creators could do to maintain the high quality of their production?
Be authentic, be real, good energy, right? I myself, I'm not a, I don't go on live streams that much, but we work directly with a lot of content creators on our platforms, and I think the biggest thing is you need to really engage with your own community. And more importantly, treat it like a business. Treat it like this is what you do for a living, and kind of you need to have that mentality of running this like a business. And when you have that level of professionalism, and that will help with the content quality as well.
Yeah, I think for this, just the number one advice is just try not to follow any existing trend already, because those are kind of made by the others, right? I think it's very important to pay attention to your own creativity, like what you really wanted to express. No matter what kind of content are already out there, if it happen to be something that's almost similar or identical to some others, that's fine, but don't confuse yourself. Just, I think a good idea would be, imagine there's no one else around at all, only you on the planet. What you want to be making. Maybe that's an interesting angle to think about. It kind of eliminates some angle, because part of human nature is to be social and get connected. If you are the only person on the planet, the thing you want to do the most probably to find another human, right? But besides that, if there's anything you want to be talking about, that would be your own creativity, your original idea. But actually, the creativity part is not easy, it's super difficult. That's why and we really respect that everyone has their own, philosophy or source of inspiration. That's why we want to be making the making part as easy as possible, so people can all focus on their own creativity, their own original expression. And yeah, that would be my 2 cents.
Thank you. Other thoughts
By the
on
way,
that?
I think I accidentally typed and then missed a question from important name. I don't know if it's true though. Andrew, if you see answered, I guess it's a joke. We don't have Andrew in this panel, right? Like the
I'm just in the attendees. Yes, we do. Should we, you want me to unmute him?
No, I think I typed to answer him, but right. Just
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I think that's fine.
Okay.
So we have time probably for one more question. What is the current status of AI generated content? What's the percentage of online content overall? In what format and domain is AI generated content leading?
Okay, so I guess that question's for me.
Good for you.
It's still pretty early age in terms of, say, any sort of commercialization or massive production. And so the idea of AI content creation, or say creation kind of AI algorithm, was brought up around 2014-ish, and no one was paying any attention to that. Someone named Ian Goodfellow figured out this kind of one of the very magical methodology of algorithm. A few years later, starting from say 16 or 17, it's picking up the heat in research realm. Lots of universities, professors were noticing this kind of a new AI and realizing how much more it could do in terms of just knowing or understanding or recognizing things, right? Because creating is like a totally different dimension than all the previous capabilities of AI. And until now, it's now very heated in research and field. Many people are paying attention. There's like say more than 100 papers every month, and more so are coming. But when it comes to companies or like content in the real world, I would say it's almost way less than 1% of all the content we are seeing today. Most of the content are still created by professional content creators or consumers. That's why there's a giant, I'd say, opportunity to make that happen, because the gap, as again I mentioned previously, is that more and more people are going to be needing more and more high quality content, but the capability of content making by human is more or less glass sealed at a certain point. We cannot expect everyone to become, say, video editor or photographer or visual storyteller, right? That's why, yeah, it's a very exciting future, and it's still in its early days. No, there isn't, I would say, single digit company in the world has really made this into commercial. Maybe one or two, and we're trying to become like the first one.
Thank you. And I want to apologize to everybody who still has open questions remaining in the Q&A. More questions than we had time. But I do want to open it up for, to our panelists really quickly at the end to see if y'all have any kind of closing thoughts or any umbrella things that you would like to leave our participants with.
Well, I think just on a high level, this is probably the most exciting time ever in history to be a content creator, and there are so many things you can do. And we kind of want to be the company that's helping the creators to pursue a full-time kind of job or like lead a career kind of in this domain. So I would kind of like to encourage everyone to really think big, and we're really only at the very beginning of this creator economy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say that I don't know which one is more interested by the audience, either to how to start your career to look for a job or better direction, or the future of, say, general content creation consumption. But for either one, I think we've thought a lot about those and experienced lots of those. So if any follow-up question that you would like to discuss or talk about, feel free to email me or visit our website. My email is like wang@surreal.la. I really welcome and would like to chat with, say, graduates or younger people with any kind of discussion, because on one hand, I might be able to help and providing some experience and useful insights. On the other hand, I might be inspired as well, right? Because I'm really curious all the time about what younger minds are thinking about and struggling about. And yeah, it's going to be a mutual thing.
Thank you, Wang. And Tony, take us home here.
Sure. Yeah, I think I guess I agree. It's the video is just the beginning, right? Don't feel sad if you're not creating the Zoom or the future of those ones. I think those are just beginning. AI is actually already in the content creation. It's just in the way of assisted creation. The virtual background right here, make your skin looking better, right? That's already here. We just didn't notice. I think it will come in that way. AI is in a lot of the recommendation engines, in Kuaishou, in TikTok, right? So I think we are at the beginning of it, and you should try to find the overlapping of the three places of where it brings the impact, and you actually like it, and it's actually make ends meet for you. So trying to find those three places, and and be just be open, be brave to jump into the new things. And also, however, brave does not mean join number 201 virtual events company, because that's just basically too many, right? So also be smart, right? And then leverage. I see a lot of bilingual names on the list, so fully leverage your bilingual benefit and do the comparison of both ecosystem and decide where the opportunity is. Timing sometimes is more important than hard work. So I mean, that's another thing I learned. So just make sure you master timing and do your due diligence. Don't just jump on the first offer letter.
Thank you. Well, I think that we are at time, and I would just like to thank Tony and Sim and Wang for an incredibly enlightening and exciting evening. This has been, I've learned a tremendous amount, and I know that all of the attendees have too. So this has been fabulous, and thank you so much, Monica.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, and everyone.
Thank
This is
you.
very interesting.
Thank you, guys. Bye.